Hi, everyone, and thank you for joining me for this fireside chat as part of our FreightWaves 2025 Domestic Supply Chain Summit. I'm Kaylee Nix and very excited to be bringing you this fireside chat with the Port of Huntsville and the Huntsville International Airport CEO, Butch Roberts. Today, we're talking a little bit about the inland port system and why it's so crucial to be part of the backbone of America's transportation network. Butch, thank you so much for joining us. You're actually right down the road from me or right down the river, depending on which way you take. You're in Huntsville, I'm here in Chattanooga, and we're glad that you're with us today.
Oh, excited to be able to spend a few minutes and talk about the Port of Huntsville. But a little bit of history about the Port of Huntsville, how we got here. I mean, we had vision of our leaders back in the early '80s about the need for an inland port in this area because North Alabama didn't have anything, or this region, and started a process of trying to build that and created an inland port here in 1986. Is when our intermodal rail and cargo opened in the '80s. So our focus was to be, a transportation hub for industrial development. And, that was our main thing, create jobs. And we had all this property out here and started down that path. So we started getting investments from, the help of federal grants, our own money, and built the intermodal. We invested about 70 something $million in the '80s and over the last, 10 years after that to build that. And again, part of what we do is, we're totally the infrastructure for transportation. I mean, we have a typical airport, Huntsville International Airport. We have the intermodal center that we call it, which is rail and international cargo. And we're like 22nd in the United States for international cargo coming into our airport is an alternative hub, in the United States. Then we have, a big industrial part, that's a big credit. We have about 4,000 acres for people who, want to locate here and use, transportation services as a benefit to be in this area. And then on top of that, we're the first commercial airport to be designated as a spaceport. So we're looking at actually bringing freight from space whenever there's experiments, and we have that. And then we have the amenities associated with that, like FTZ and customs operations here. So that's our big picture. We're about economic development, and that's why we're so big into this. But the best thing we did early on is make the big investments. So we're running, we've had 20% growth over the last 2 years, which is really good for us. We're at 20% growth year over year. This current year had our best March that we've ever had last month, and that has something to do with the unknowns of tariffs and all that. But that's how logistics is all about, and that's what we try to provide is the flexibility for customers, to be able to use us in times when everything's not normal. And I think that's what's important.
So the interesting thing about Huntsville is the geographic location, I think, is really optimal for you guys, but it gets overlooked sometimes, right? You guys are near Memphis, which of course is the one of the large intermodal hubs in the nation. Also has the massive cargo airport with FedEx there. Kind of close to Louisville with UPS, their hub, not as quite as close, but Atlanta's there. You're close to the Gulf Coast ports. The city of Birmingham is just south, but it's really almost like a diamond, not in the rough, but it's a gem that's there that's ready for use, right? Can you talk a little bit about how well that geographic location plays into the strategic use of the airport?
Yeah, I mean, we are in a great location. I mean, that's part of, the state of Alabama with all the, auto industry is starting to locate in this area, and we're right in the middle of that. That's a lot of our growth. But, especially moving cargo, it has been such a benefit where we're located. I mean, we're right on 565, Interstate 65, 10 miles down the road, north-south connectivity. So, and another benefit we have, getting out of the ports, the congestion here is great. I mean, the access to our facility, and we got a 5-lane road coming to it. So the congestion here is good compared, especially compared to the large cities and those opportunities that we have.
So you guys recently just hit a pretty big milestone. Talk to me a little bit about the inland port surge and what drove you to that 1 million milestone.
Yeah, well, we just, our first million lifts we've had over since we've been operating. But, what drove it, I mean, it's just consistency. I mean, we offered this for local people to utilize, and we've been pretty consistent through the years, in normal growth. So again, probably only 30% capacity. Our facility we've built, we can do 80 to 100,000 TEUs right now, and we're at 30 to 40 right now is what we're running. So, great benefit for us right now in that regard.
With the uncertainty around tariffs, you mentioned that a little bit earlier. Talk to me a little bit about how important inland ports and US port infrastructure in general is going to be as we look to hopefully bring more manufacturing back into the United States and start to kind of restructure the way that we've gone from this really globalized network to a more domestic, centralized focus network.
Yeah, I mean, again, location. We've got that, and the flexibility we have, to be able to accommodate, customers and what they need and the timing, the just in time inventory, and having this industrial park here, and not just in our park. I mean, all of the north out of the areas we serve, to be able to grow, you know, we have land. A lot of places are, don't have the land, the opportunity. So, having this vital, check off, if somebody's looking to locate an operation or manufacture, they're going to need this. And so we're positioned in a great time, you know what I'm saying? And the tariffs, it'll get to a new, and hopefully it'll accomplish the goal of more manufacturing. So we'll have more exports than maybe we have current imports and better balance, but we'll always have both. So anyway, that's the benefit we have is our property, the ability to expand our transportation, because we don't have to build. A lot of communities are behind, they're behind. I mean, what we would take, we looked at about 200 million just to replace what we have today. So we're already there, we built it, and all we got to do is accommodate the customer and be flexible with that.
When we look at the type of industry that's best served in North Alabama, what is some of maybe the opportunity? What types of industries could have the opportunity to come into the state, into Huntsville, and really flourish? And what are the ones that maybe have been here, but maybe don't necessarily have a lot of runway in the future? Are we talking like automotive, pharmaceutical, things like that?
I think you just hit it. I mean, all the auto industry is here. Pharmaceutical is probably one of our biggest carriers for our air cargo, high volume, quick to market. I don't know anything really that's not able to really be able to grow in this state, in this area. I mean, we have Decatur just west here has river port access and have river, for those type of bulk things. But I'm not aware of anything I would say wouldn't have an opportunity here. We don't ship out a lot of bulk stuff. A lot of that goes like to the Port of Mobile and those type things, coal and that type stuff. But advanced manufacturing is what Huntsville's really pushing. And, the technology that's in this town is just tremendous. We've got Redstone Arsenal out here. So there's a lot of opportunity for manufacturing advanced things that it's hard to even list what they could be.
So, looking at goals for maybe let's talk about the airport specifically, growing air cargo, growing routes and providers, things like that. What type of goals are front of your mind when it comes to further development in the airport?
Oh, and I think our number one goal is to get our message out, to let people know we're here, just to take a look at us. Because I'm telling you, when we get people to use us, I mean, they never go away. So our is to get the message out about alternative gateway, the convenience, instead of trucking, get it here as on rail. It's cheaper, you know what I'm saying? Environmentally, it's better. So they're just a good message. And if they're looking to expand, that's the ones we really would like to talk to. And most of our expansion is internal, it's growth of our current, users. So that's our goals, and to stay ahead of the growth. And I'll go back to being flexible again and being able to deal with that. So our growth opportunities, again, with assets, we're great. It's just getting the message out and get people to try us and think about, hey, we can save you money. We can do it quicker and better and cheaper. You know what I'm saying? And that's what we can prove that if given an opportunity.
And the final piece of this that I want to touch on is the labor piece, because I think that's really important too. Huntsville, North Alabama, incredibly affordable place to live. The cost of living is really, really low, which provides a really low barrier of entry to the families who maybe are looking to not necessarily escape, but to get out of those bigger cities, right? Coming from Birmingham, maybe coming from Nashville or Memphis or from Atlanta. Huntsville has that area that is ripe for people moving in to make a good living and be in these industries. Can you just touch a little bit about what that continued growth in this transportation sector with both the airport and the inland port, what that will mean for the labor market?
Yeah, I mean, Huntsville's known for that. The diversity we have in this community, people moving in from California and those different places, it's been tremendous. And as far as finding people to work, they're here. You know what I'm saying? And part of even the airport and what we do, we run our own port. They're our employees. And so we understand the importance of having a good workforce. But Huntsville is prime for that. It's been prime for that for a while. So,
Well, but before I let you go today, if I am a provider, if I'm a transportation logistics provider who wants to move my company to Huntsville, or if I'm a company who wants to start utilizing Huntsville as an opportunity to bring my products into the United States, or if I'm a person that wants to move there and look for a job in the industry, what's your number one piece of advice to set yourself up for success in Huntsville utilizing the assets there?
well, I mean, first thing again, I would ask you go to our website and take a look, and reach out to us and give us a chance, opportunity to, interact with you and see and describe your issues and what you're trying to solve, and give us a chance, to help be a partner, with folks in that regard. And that's our biggest thing we're looking to do.
Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us for the Domestic Supply Chain Summit. You mentioned the website. If people want to reach out to you, what is that website? Where can they go?
portofhuntsville.com. And we got a business development group that's what they work on. We'll come see you. You don't have to come see us. Just give us a call. And again, we have a foreign trade zone. A lot of people are looking at that opportunity. We can run, uh, and subzones, and be able to, give them the opportunity to understand what savings they can have from taxes there.
There we go. Thank you so much for joining us. And we appreciate it and appreciate all of you guys for sticking with us here at the Domestic Supply Chain Summit. Don't go away. We've got plenty more coming up right after this, and stay tuned.